Chapter 2 Season 2 is the most overrated season in Fortnite history. Now hold on, I'm not going to tell you that if you like this season you're wrong. I just wanted to make a video going over the reasons why I didn't like this season, because I do believe there were some good reasons why I thought this was a terrible season, and it surprises me when I see people praising this as one of the best seasons. Chapter 2 Season 2 dropped on February 20th, 2020. It had 5 brand new POIs named the Grotto, the Yacht, the Shark, the Rig, and of course the Agency. New mythic weapons for the first time in the game, and a brand new battle pass with a spy theme. This all sounds pretty great on paper. It really was for a while too. This was the season that introduced henchmen to Fortnite. You drop at one of the new POIs and there would be now literal bots to fight. If you eliminate the boss bot, it would drop a key card in one of the mythic weapons depending on the POI you landed at. You could then use the key card to open the vault and there would be a lot of great loot inside. So where's the problem here? That just sounds like some great fun to me. Well, let's start small. When landing at any of these places, music would start playing with no way to turn it off as your music setting had zero effect on this. This music would make it very difficult to know what was going on around you. It would also make it hard to know who is an enemy player and who is a bot, which I don't think I need to say, but that's some pretty useful information to know.
What? Bro, what are you talking about?
It would also prevent anyone who didn't want to deal with henchmen from going to any of these new POIs, just completely avoiding them, which is still a problem to this day to be completely fair, but modern Fortnite also has a similar system where you fight a boss for a wall medallion, but in the currently most recent Chapter 5 Season 2, someone has to actually start the boss fight by knocking down the statue in each POI. This is a massive improvement so that you can actually try to wipe out all the players in the area and then focus the boss fight. Now that this is in place, I really don't have a problem with the vault system, and I think they do benefit the game a good amount.
Are you f***ing kidding me?
But even in the first season of Chapter 5, it had the issue of dropping somewhere and not knowing who is a bot and who isn't, due to them having the same footstep audio as a player for whatever reason. So I'm glad even if it took years, they have kind of fixed this issue. Alright, let's go back to Season 2 and go over mythic weapons. These things were the first mythical weapons in Battle Royale, as I mentioned. If you got one of these things, it was over for the enemy unless you were absolutely terrible. Some of the most powerful mythics were Sky's mythic Scar, Brutus's minigun, and of course, who could forget Midas's drum gun. Combine these weapons with the broken aim assist at the time, and it was just not a very fun game to play. Yes, I am going to go there with the aim assist talk because back then it was actually broken. Previous seasons also did have the same legacy aim assist that this season had, but around this time players were really realizing how broken it was and abusing it. Not to mention this entire loot pool benefited L2 spamming.
Oh, what? Controller player! That is a controller player!
Luckily, they did end up eventually removing legacy aim assist around this time, but it just wasn't fun to be L2 spammed or someone running into your box with a Midas's drum gun like an absolute maniac. Okay, going beyond just the weapons being far too powerful or the henchman system, because all of these things could be a positive to someone, right? Yeah, sure it could, but what's not a positive to anyone is, well, unless you're a weirdo, content droughts. This season had practically zero content added throughout the entirety of it. We got the crash pad. No, that's it. There was nothing else. Okay, editing this, we did also get the chopper. It's still just not a lot of content though. This was a complete 180 from just a couple months prior in Chapter 1 Season X. This was also a problem in Chapter 2 Season 1, but at least with that season we got a brand new map, the Storm King event for Halloween, and it was the first time we got Winterfest, which is definitely the best type of Christmas event Fortnite has ever made, especially if you compare it to what we got last year in 2023, 2020, or 2018. It just doesn't compare to Crackshot's cabin during Winterfest. But anyways, that's a topic for a different day. This content drought made the game very boring very quick. A game like Fortnite was designed around the live service model, so it kind of requires content to be added over time. Some may say this is due to what was going on in 2020, but I disagree. While that may have been a part of it, there was definitely something else going on behind the scenes as well. As I mentioned, Chapter 2 Season 1 also had the same issue for the most part. Very little content added for the entirety of the season. When the previous
Season X is here,
was getting weekly map changes and bi-weekly new weapons being added to the game all the time. Maybe all the hard work at the end of Chapter 1 dropping tons of new content regularly ended up causing some burnout. I guess we'll never know for sure, but regardless of the reasons, this same problem trickled into Chapter 2 Season 2, causing the game to get stale quickly shortly after the season had started. Real quick, if you do enjoy this video, you can use code YouTubeIs4G in the Fortnite item shop. I do get a small portion of that sale, and I would greatly appreciate it. Alright, back to the video. This leads me to my next big issue with the season. It got delayed. It was originally going to end April 30th, 2020, but got extended until June 3rd. Then it was extended once more until June 17th. This was already a problem in Season 1, with that season being the longest Fortnite season at 128 days, but Season 2 wasn't far behind with a final count of 119 days.
What took you so long?
These are the longest Fortnite seasons in the history of Fortnite seasons. This, in combination with the content drought, made for a slow, terrible season. That's pretty much 4 months, 4 long, boring months of seeing this crap gray background in the lobby. It got so bad, I ended up favoriting all my loading screens, but specifically have unfavored the Chapter 2 Season 2 main loading screen because it just reminds me of that exhausting time to be a Fortnite player, and yes, I still have it set like that in my locker to this day. I mean, they couldn't have at least delayed a good season? There was also a pretty big problem with the XP system at the time, so much that Epic had to drop extra challenges towards the end of the season to help players finish the season. During a 4-month-long season, during a time where everyone was stuck at home with nothing better to do. People ended up complaining that the game felt more like a job than a game. I played an absolute ton, and even I didn't get golden peely by the end of the season. Now, does that make this season all bad? No, not exactly. I really only chose this specific season because anytime I see someone talk about how this was the best season, I feel like this meme. One thing I will say was actually incredibly good with this season was the live events. These events were fantastic. The Travis Scott event was an incredibly cool virtual concert, and I remember everyone, including myself, thinking this event would take us back to the OG map just because the Astro Jack skin had the old map on his head. The Doomsday event was amazing as well because it had actual cutscenes where we finally got to hear Jonesy speak for the first time. It also set up the map for the next season by having the storm turn into an ocean, so it's for sure not all bad. My main issues with this season have always been the delays, the lack of content updates, and the time-consuming XP grind. If this season wasn't 4 months long with barely any content, I think it could have been a lot more fun. I mean, I've had fun in every Fortnite season no matter how bad it was. When compared to much better seasons though, it just does not compete well at all beyond its cool spy theme. If this season dropped today with the same issues it had, I really don't think players would talk as highly about it as they do now. With all of these issues I mentioned, it leads me to wonder why there's so many players that talk so highly of this time. Again, if you like this season, which based on how many people I see praising this over on Twitter, you statistically probably do, I'm not hating on your opinion of this. I just want to know why. Why does it seem like so many people love an objectively poor and flawed season? Especially if you compare it to other seasons that got so much love and content from the developers. My theory is a basic one that applies to a lot of games around this time: nostalgia. Now, unlike nostalgia for Chapter 1 Fortnite, this is different. This is a time in life that was unique, where everyone was home with nothing better to do, all your friends were online, all playing games. It was just a different time. I'm sure a lot of players also took a break from the game before this time, or they were completely brand new, so this season kind of just felt like a completely fresh start to them. But I'm a Fortnite OG. I've spent more time on this game than I'm willing to admit. I've played through every single season, exploring and grinding, and going from Season 4 through Season X with tons of content in between. Rarely did a season get delayed, and tons of map changes in comparison to what we got in those first 8 months of Chapter 2 with Seasons 1 and 2. It really just put a sour taste in my mouth for the rest of the chapter, and that's why I think Chapter 2 Season 2 is the most overrated season in Fortnite history.